SCP-166 is a very popular but also a somewhat controversial SCP, thanks to her anomalous properties. However, not too many people know that 166's wiki entry was revised some time ago, something which made SCP-166 totally different. So in this video, we will be talking about 166's revised entry. But before we do, make sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and we will be talking about more interesting SCPs very soon. Let's start with the revised entry's wiki article. Just like before, SCP-166 is a European girl in her late teens. However, the new version has some unique physical features. Instead of legs, the girl possesses hooved feet, and she has antlers and a short tail, similar to that of a reindeer. However, the biggest change about SCP-166 isn't her appearance, but instead her anomalous properties. Unsurprisingly, 166's new version no longer has any effects on men, nor does the girl need to consume that awkward fluid every now and then, something which will certainly make the new entry a lot less controversial. Instead, 166's effects now apply to a totally different part of her environment. Within a 50-foot radius, SCP-166 causes all artificial objects to gradually return to a more primitive, unworked state. For example, complex objects like electronics or vehicles degrade very quickly, and their metallic and electric components begin to convert to raw materials, causing catastrophic damage and failure in a matter of hours. And to the contrary, rudimentary materials such as stone buildings or products made of organic materials decay at a virtually imperceptible rate. But this isn't everything. Not only does SCP-166 destroy anything man-made, but the girl also causes plant life in her vicinity to grow, often out of unexpected places. For example, 166's plants have been observed sprouting out of security cameras, ID sensors, and much more. Unsurprisingly, SCP-166 is highly sensitive to artificial pollutants, and inhalation of such materials leads to an acute asthma attack. And this effect is so strong that on one occasion, simply being around a doctor who is a smoker caused SCP-166 to undergo a severe asthma attack, even though the doctor had not smoked for a few weeks at the time. And even though clothes don't cause pressure ulcers on SCP-166's skin anymore, artificial objects do. And finally, despite of all these abnormalities, DNA analysis of the girl reveals nothing out of the ordinary. Just like the previous version, SCP-166 was discovered at a convent in Ireland, a place where she had lived since her infancy. But now, her origin story is somewhat different. Just like the previous version, SCP-166 was the child of a very powerful goddess, but now the Global Occult Coalition was involved. From a note, we learn that this goddess, nicknamed Threat Entity 9927-Black, was formerly classified as an SCP and was a goddess of nature. This deity possessed extreme bestial appearance and minor chlorokinetic abilities. However, the thing that made SCP-166's mother so dangerous was the fact that this goddess possessed knowledge and the ability to enact a procedure, nicknamed Clockwork Blackchild Havila, a worldwide ritual that would reverse humanity's technological progress and return our civilization to Neolithic standards of living. Because of this, the Global Occult Coalition decided to terminate this goddess, and this was successfully carried out in the 20th century during an operation called the Cornwall Incident. However, the GOC was unable to terminate the daughter of the goddess, SCP-166, also called 9927-Blackchild. It's unknown what exactly happened during this operation, but it's believed that the strike team leader, Agent Ukulele, defected offended and refused to terminate SCP-166, instead smuggling her into the convent. And after securing the girl, the agent ran away. 166 lived in the convent until the age of 12, at which point a visitor accidentally witnessed the girl and reported her to the police. But Agent Ukulele found out about this and realized that the GOC might discover the girl, so he contacted the Foundation and shared intelligence, demanding guaranteed safety and containment of SCP-166 in return. As such, 166 was taken by the Foundation, to the GOC's dismay. Once in containment, regular interviews with a priest were conducted, aiming to uncover more about 166's origin. When asked about her parents, SCP-166 claims she never really knew them because she was dropped off at the convent when she was just a baby. As such, everything the girl knows about her parents she learned from the sisters at the convent. For example, SCP-166 heard the sisters talking about her mother once, and they called her a goddess, something which 166 finds believable considering her own appearance. Also, the girl heard the sisters mention the Cornwall incident, the operation during which the goddess was terminated, but the sisters soon realized that they shouldn't mention anything about the girl's backstory in her presence. However, despite the extensive rumors about her mother, SCP-166 never heard the sisters mention anything about her father, leaving her to wonder who he really was. And so, we come to the final interview log in her Wiki article, but this interview doesn't feature 166, but instead 2 researchers, one of which is redacted. The unknown doctor seems to have done something silly, and the first researcher, Dr. Light, is accusing him of being reckless. But the unknown doctor defends himself, stating that he just wanted to make sure that SCP-166 is alright. The man continues, claiming that 166 is harmless, and that he's the only reason why she's in Foundation custody. In return, Dr. Light reminds him that as a senior Foundation researcher, he can't do such things, else he will be fired. But the man goes on, stating that for 16 years, SCP-166 can't do anything because she is either locked up in a convent or in a Foundation cell, all because of him. Out of desperation, the man says that he can send a strike team to anywhere in the world, that he knows secrets that the most powerful people in the world would pay billions for, and yet he can't even talk to SCP-166 and let her know that she's not alone. But in the end, Dr. Light does not punish the man, and instead requests that he performs a few sessions with a Foundation psychologist. And finally, we learn that the reason Dr. Light was so angry was because this redacted researcher had left a note in SCP-166's containment chamber, which contained classified information. And this turns out to be the same note which we discussed in our last SCP-166 video, a document where Dr. Clef apologizes to 166 for her tragic fate, explains her backstory and claims to be her father. And knowing that Clef was a former GOC operative, and that he likes to play the ukulele, we conclude that he must have been the agent that rescued 166 in the first place. So as we see, the new SCP-166 does away with the girl's former controversial properties and instead takes a more mature approach. And this revision certainly makes more sense when it comes to her backstory, because a nature goddess being the mother of a girl that makes plant life grow makes a lot more sense than the previous origin story. But still, after 12 years on the wiki, the original SCP-166 had become a fan favorite despite of all its issues, so it's sad to see it gone. So what do you think? Do you prefer the revised SCP-166 to the original? And which SCP should we explore next? Let us know in the comments. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more SCP videos, and join our Discord server if you want to discuss similar topics.